Thanks for staying with us. This is Daybreak, and in the esteemed company of former Kacheliba MP and Senator West Pokot County, Samuel Pogisho, Ahmed Hashi, governance and political commentator, and Dr. Mukhisa Kitui served in Parliament from 1992 to 2012. By the way, Pogisho was way before him in 1988. And Dr. Kitui also served as a cabinet minister. So did Samuel Pogisho. And I am glad to have you here on the broadcast this morning. Coming to you, Dr. Kitui, it's so worrying, is it, if you consider today the institutional integrity of Parliament, and given what has happened since 2013, when we had the first elections after Katiba's promulgation in 2010. And is it a case of incapacity question, the incapacitation of an existing capacity on the part of parliamentarians unable to understand the powers?
You know, a number of things have happened since opening up of space dramatically. One of them is custodianship of a new constitutional order going into the hands of people who are reluctant to embrace the change that has brought that constitution. Quite a bit under Uhuru, culminating particularly under Ruto. I served with Ruto in Parliament. Throughout his political life, he has been a leading fighter against the constitutional changes that have awarded him power. Now you put a person, is making Al Capone the mayor. You put a person who has been fighting the new institutional order in charge of implementing that institutional order. So that is a genesis of some of the challenges that we have. At another level, the high point of confluence between intellectual capacity and legislative responsibility came in the 90s, in the fight in the ending years of the Moi government. But the decline reached its highest point in the current dispensation, where wash have bought their way into Parliament. We have never had so many wash in public leadership as today. Hence, the only thing they know as raison d'être, the purpose of being in leadership, is distribution of money. And to distribute money, you must have a pipeline of supply that is beyond your legitimate earning. So when you have a patron saint of easy money sitting at the top of the hill, his surrogates see their role in doing what Sudi does. And now they have co-opted other leaders. When I see the Speaker of Parliament flying around every weekend, running around with State House types to distribute money in the name of empowerment, who will be the custodian of parliamentary integrity and dignity? Who will champion? I would like to hear Wetangula talk about the president's assault on Parliament. Because now he's divided. His loyalty. Is it to the person who has been giving money to go and run around with the Kenya Kwanza operatives, pretending that if you throw money at the poor, you are now the leader? Or he is a person who is seized by the historical moment that this is an institution that is bigger than me. Let me carry this with the honor that the other speakers before me have done, and let me remain the symbol of parliamentary significance in the balance of power between institutions. If you are running around like an agent of State House and you occupy the seat of Parliament, you cannot be the one to resuscitate the dignity of Parliament in difficult, turbulent times like now, when the patron has turned his guns on them. And what is he turning the guns on Parliament about? This is a diversionary tactic. This is not the whole purpose that Ruto is facing. You see, when you are in the business of inventing government on the go, you wake up and the first idea that comes to mind is what you try to implement. That way you touch so many things and you make so many things. You are seeing the collapse of investor confidence in Kenya. The hemorrhage of institutional investors, corporate and small scale. You have seen the chasing out of Kenyan small scale entrepreneurs out of Tanzania. A critical matter of national interest that you put there, Musalia, and he behaves like making sanitized statements, is an answer to the challenges facing the right of Kenyan citizens for establishment in Tanzania. I negotiated that common market with Jakaya Kikwete. They don't see what they are giving away. And look at how they are pushing themselves in the corner. Because of misconduct, they are now being pushed by America. You have to decide whether you're with China or with us. And in a very stupid way, they tilt as if China can provide all that the West has been providing for Kenya. You cannot sell textiles to China. Can't you see that Kenya's interests are diverse? Kenya used to pride itself on having some of the best trained diplomats in diplomatic service. Quite a lot of them are still there. But look at the appointments they are making now.
Yeah.
You are stifling an institution that has been part of our national pride and putting their sidekicks who absolutely are on holiday and a rampant head of state who is running around thinking that what you say in Beijing is not heard in Washington.
Okay. And of course, one of the other nominee was rejected by the House's Foreign Relations, Intelligence and Defense Committee.
Maybe he did not have enough money.
And his only achievement was that he was a petrol station attendant.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be posted to the DRC as Kenya's representative.
And the DRC rejected them.
Yes, yeah. The committee rejected him,
the DRC also rejected them.
Yeah. And ideally, is what Dr. Kitui points out, also what we see with parliamentarians, not only their wanting discipline politically, but also how they behaved in Addis, Ethiopia's diplomatic capital.
Yeah, but just before you move on to that, this Goma story is very, very sad.
Yeah.
You see, the president of Kenya has been very ambivalent about how he has related to DRC. On the M23 movement, Kagame side, and Kinshasa. Now, to move and appoint an emissary to a territory that is basically controlled by M23, without the consent of Kinshasa, first of all, on the principle of having a representative there, and secondly, on the kind of person to send there, is just a demonstration of what I was saying. Absolute lack of diplomatic nous. And we suffer it. We look like a laughing stock in the region.
Yes, sir.
I've predicted all these things ad nauseum here. It's on the record. It's the question. I think the question is a philosophical one, whether or not the system of government we have in this country is appropriate for us today. We have borrowed, or we were faxed a separation of power system in this country. In which the executive is empowered in such a way that it controls the financial wherewithal in this country. The political parties control the lists of the candidates who are going to the National Assembly. The system has been crawled in a way that it has created the concept of cruelty. The great Alexander Solzhenitsyn said that if you put a lot of power in a few hands, what comes out of it is cruelty. And that is why you have seen all these children who are dying in our country and all these detentions without trial now, because some of the children who are in jail have been put under the Terrorist Act. It's just another form of detention without trial. Because once you put someone in jail as a terrorist, he has no rights, he has basically no rights. So I think that what we need in the future is to start talking about how we can have a parliamentary system of government, but also deal with the issues of political parties, so that expediency can also be dealt with. Because when Mr. Pugisho and Mr. Mukhiso were there, some of the best legislators in this country were there, and they toppled Moi. What has happened now is that, as I've said before, people go to parliament, they can't even swear in English or in Kiswahili, maybe not even in their native language. So I think that what has been done in this country, the system of low standards has been imposed so much that these legislators who are now crying were the ones who were benefiting from this system. And now they've been thrown under the bus. They're saying, let us call the president, let us do this. It's too late. A president under the auspices of the former Prime Minister, Mr. Odinga, who keeps claiming in an ahistorical way that the country was going to go down the drain. And that is why his political party entered into government to buttress the system. And I think that's just a ploy for Mr. Odinga to present a different case in 2027. And I also believe, lastly, before I give it to my learned friend on the right, is that it is really outrageous that President Ruto stood up and said that the National Assembly or the Parliament was corrupt. and that that they had to change the country. So he was pleading to the patriotism of this country. And it is not patriotism that he was pleading to. He was pleading to what the great Frantz Fanon called the native only wants, remember this quip that I like very much, the native doesn't want his freedom, he wants the farm, he wants the settler's house, and preferably his blonde wife. And that kind of consciousness in this country has been very prevalent, and there is nothing that is going to stop us from getting rid of this administration. Yes. But there's a very big problem, lastly, that the opposition, which I belong to, and Mr. Mukhisa belongs to, and then Mr. on my right also I believe belongs to, to craft a way in which the opposition can get a very strong candidate who can stand up to this cunning, shrewd president. And in 2027, we can overthrow this government in a constitutional way through the electoral system, and then he can hand over power peacefully, and we can move on from there.
Yeah. Senator Pogigio, looking at the performance of the 11th, 12th, and now the 13th Parliament, have we seen an institution since 2013 that has been very keen in supplicating to the executive instead of checking over it?
There is a big problem with parenting and also with the leadership in government today. Throw money at every situation. To solve any problem now, just throw money at it. That started in 2013. It's going on up to now. I served as a minister under late Kibaki, and it was a different ballgame, completely different ballgame. You remember, we were very, very careful about how we spent government monies and so on and so on. But 2013 came, and apparently I keep saying it became easier to steal from the public. It became easier for people to start distributing money and sorting out money. Today, it's now gone full scale. What I'm telling you is that whatever has corrupted itself is a parliament. Parliament has corrupted itself because of the powers given to the same parliament. And so let's not talk about even somebody else corrupting them. Even if some of the money comes from the executive, the issue that we need to look at is what happened to our parliament so that it's able to corrupt itself. Committees, the way they travel out of the country, the amount of money spent. I mean, all these things need to be looked at. I mean, right now is a time to say, if it were possible to clean house and go back to the polls, so go back to the election, it would probably be the best solution for this country. However, then we have the Kenyans themselves who have allowed this kind of thing.
Yes, it's true.
To be, so that they elect the most corrupt people. Yeah. They bring people whom you say, this one is a thief, say, that's our thief, let him be.
Let him be.
So those languages and those things need to come out. I think as a member of parliament, a former member of parliament, in the last parliament, for example, I could see it, that we are heading in a worse situation under this government now, Kenya Kwanza. We would get worse because the problem is, if you do not have money, you can't run anymore. You know, look at the way we elect our governors. How much money do they spend to become a governor?
Crazy money.
You know, why would you want to spend that kind of money? And then where will you get? Look at the last, okay, we're going to have an impeachment very soon. Any impeachment that happens in this country, under the Senate, it's influenced by something. Yeah. Why are we allowing our country to be like that? So, I don't have to give details about the mess and the rot which is there, but it is a rotten place. It's absolutely. I mean, we live with these guys next to them. We live with them. we know when they went to Parliament what they were like. Yeah. We know right now what they are like. And it's very, very difficult to say.
Very sad.
Very sad, actually, for the country.
Yeah. Dr. Mukhisa, I know you want to come in, but allow me to just juxtapose two scenarios. When Moi sat in Parliament, you lawmakers told him there will be no budget if there will be no reforms before the elections, right? Yeah. That was at the height of an environment that was totally different from today constitutionally. In 2023, President William Ruto told MPs in Narok County, Mimi nangoja kuona mbunge ambaye anaenda kupinga mpango tuko nao kwa hawa wananchi atasimama wapi. Basically saying you can't vote against the finance bill then in 2023, saying, I'm waiting to see MPs who will oppose the housing levy in the finance bill 2023. Then Kenyans will know he is an enemy of the people against employing jobless youth through the housing fund. I beseech MPs to pass the finance bill with the housing levy because it's good for Kenyans. Comparing the two environments, how wanting is the quality of our representatives in your view today? Okay,
so the answer is both on the representatives and on the executive. You know, Ruto has been to school much more than Moi. But Moi was much, much more developed in the art of statecraft than Ruto. Moi saw that Kenya was bigger than him. And when I confronted Saitoti and Biwott in the private office of the speaker and said, you have a responsibility of government, things are going to get out of hand. You must accept discussions for at least a minimum package of reform to stabilize the country. They went to see Moi and he accepted. That's how IPPG started. Ruto is carried away by the delusion of invisibility. See this crime of hubris. You think you're so powerful, you have been so successful, you even dare the gods to challenges, that battles that you don't need. When he is saying, let me see who will stand up, does he own these MPs? Even the most feeble among them, they get to a certain point and then they can start seeing beyond Ruto. And Ruto should understand, a lot of the MPs that are there today are very unpopular, partly because of being associated with him. And the rebellion will start coming as they look to alternative pathways to retaining the largesse. Now, what are the differences? We were trying to build institutions. Others are riding the weaknesses in the institutions we built. The safeguards were not sufficient. We did not expect that evil men will occupy positions meant for people who grow in institutions. So they get in and they look, what can I eat here? What deal can I make here? But there is also two little things I wanted to mention here. President Ruto, in his slamming MPs the other day, seemed to be having seen the light. Even Saul became Paul in Damascus. It might be, let's just even for a moment pretend that this is Damascus moment. If this is Damascus moment, there are two quick things he can do. One of the worst things Ruto did when he became president is to terminate cases of corruption which were very advanced in courts. People were going to be jailed and billions of shillings to be recovered. The president took them out of court, allowed those people freedom. Now, if he has seen the light, let him reinstate those corruption cases. You don't need to start aligning new institutions to fight corruption when you have rewarded corruption in the past. We don't need new presidential directives. Kenya has institutions to fight corruption. Allow them the mandate and the budget to do their job. But this window dressing with appearances of seriousness is an insult on our intelligence.
I think the president is a wolf in wolf's clothing. You know, there's a sheep dyed in the wool ship, but he's a wolf in wolf clothing. I mean, everybody knows who he is. And I think that he's worked on the cracks and the divisions of our society, on ethnicity, on the power and all these things. And now there's a culture of entitlement. So if you see the president when he's speaking, he says, you know, I'm lucky to be one of the 5 presidents of this country. He believes that he is destiny's child, that he's going to transform this country. He believes that he's been there because of providence of God. He's there. You can see the cultural accoutrements of giving himself this John the Baptist kind of feeling. And you could also see Mr. Duale in Garissa the other day when you were speaking and saying that I'm the kingpin of northern Kenya, and that I have succeeded in every political maneuver that I have ever done. There's a culture of entitlement in the government, which believes that they are shocked to see the president on the day that he won the election. You could see the bewilderment in his face. He couldn't believe that he actually won. He just couldn't believe it because, you know, the state was with Mr. Odinga and President Uhuru was actively campaigning. And today, as we stand, the president just cannot be told, look, you're making a mistake. And he stood up there in the program and said that, you know, the housing is working. It's failing. There's no housing project that's working in this country. It is failing. The amount of money that he's getting into there is just crazy. The second thing is that his programs on agriculture, fertilizer, his own Minister of Agriculture came on TV and spoke about the corruption of the Russian fertilizer. No, every indicator that the president speaks on, it's just a false, it's a lie. It's subterfuge. And the people of this country are now very savvy to it. That is why you have this slogan of Ruto must go. But the question that we all have to answer is why Mr. Odinga is buttressing this system, when Mr. Odinga's whole political career has been a reach towards a moral platform. And the reason why Mr. Odinga is now fair game is because he said that our country was going to fail. Our country is not going to fail because the people of this country are not going to let our country fail. We're not going to do that. These young people were demonstrating on the street. They've been shot at, they've been arrested because they refused to pay taxes. They said no new taxes. There is no country in history where there's been a transformation that it hasn't been about taxation. From the Boston Tea Party to Amilcar Cabral's revolution in Guinea. Therefore, I urge one thing. There is nothing that can be changed unless the progressive people in this country and the politicians who want to make a difference in this country get into power. And the way I see this country is that the opposition in this country really needs to do some soul searching and bring one person to us that we Kenyans in this country can all line up behind and go to the ballot box and change this country from spiraling down to the bottom of Golgotha. Okay.
Coming to Senator Pogegio, the enormous institutional power that Parliament has. And yesterday we had seen them calling for the President to appear before the House in the graft claims that he made. And the blanket condemnation, what the MP said was unfair, calling on Speakers Wetangula and Amason Kingi to summon the head of state to appear before them to substantiate his claims. Ideally, it seems this is far-fetched, is it, given how they are pigeonholed despite this enormous power invested in them by the occupant at any given time at State House?
I say this again, this is a captured parliament. And it's a slave in itself to the executive. And so you can't say anything. I mean, whatever they're saying is just rhetoric. You know, when you say we're going to summon the president, I mean, you tell me who is going to write that letter.
Who will bail the cat?
Yeah, who's going to write that letter? Who's going to sign that letter to invite the president to come? The president, under the Constitution, cannot just be summoned by Parliament because he has said things like that. If they want, they can move a step higher, a step forward, much more step, and they are entitled to impeach the president. But this idea of saying,
in your view, can they?
But can
constitutionally they can.
I mean, yes. Can they? Can this Parliament?
Not this one.
Not this one.
They don't have the guts.
And first of all, we're talking about who could write that letter. Which speaker? Among those two speakers. I mean, if the speakers themselves have become agents
of the executive
on every weekend. By the way, I don't know. I mean, when we were there as leaders in that parliament, I have not ever used anything called a chopper anyway. But now every member of parliament literally can afford a ride on a chopper.
Yeah.
All ministers today, even if they were going to here, just to Naivasha, will take a chopper.
Yeah.
I mean, how did we make it so easy for this public money to be spent any way we want? And so I'm just saying, the time for John the Baptist is here. And you know, John the Baptist, even the Damascus moment, wasn't an easy moment. The guy was blind for some time. Yes. Because you have to undergo a complete transformation. This John the Baptist is calling people, you broods of vipers. You know, he's telling them, there's a moment of reckoning. And if the President Ruto wants to change this country, and he has already come out to condemn corruption, The formation of a multi-agency thing is not the solution.
No.
People need to be arrested. People need to be in courts charged.
Convicted and jailed.
I mean, convicted and jailed. But if you just say, let's form another commission, I mean, how many of these things are we going to form?
It's a joke. It's a joke.
And which is housed by the...
And in any case, these same people who are called now multi-agency, actually, that is their job on a daily basis. That's what they should be doing on a daily basis. Bringing them together is not helping. I mean, they on their own should be the ones fighting corruption.
Yeah.
But are they? If you look at everybody who heads those organizations, are they?
They're not.
Do they look like you can actually fight corruption?
Yeah.
How you fight corruption if you have the capacity to fight the corruption, or you have the will, but also must start from the top. This is where we ask the president. You go to Japan, you go to America, come back to this country, and show us. Don't give us other people. The president, come and show us that you have the muscle, you have actually the will, and you are going to start fighting this animal called corruption. If he doesn't lead from the front, all these formations that he's giving us won't help us at all.
Merely cosmetic.
And this is his moment to change the narrative about this president. Maybe now he really wants to do something, but let him come out and let us see it by example. These people were saying they will summon the president. The president has learned how to throw money at every problem. So let's see, unless they're just creating a problem so that money can be thrown after it.
He'll ignore it.
You know, but absolutely impossible. There is no speaker who can summon the president or say anything about our president today. The worst part of all this...
Constitutionally, can they?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Ayub, the worst thing about all this problem, these corruption problems, is that we have cascaded it or devolved it to our counties. Exactly what you see happening here, if you go to our counties, which we have thought devolution was supposed to solve, it's worse. So let's worry as a country and say this is a moment where we should have a debate, not about that debate of multi-generational thing. No. That doesn't help. I want to see these two leaders, Raila Odinga and Ruto, who have now come together, not to use those numbers for the wrong thing. Use those numbers to correct a situation that is there now.
Yeah, okay. And Dr. Kitui, one of the major exposés by the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was to give us the paperwork of how the agreements were all conceptualized, the paperwork of every party in the coalition agreement, Kenya Kwanza. And for the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula, it was clear what is to be awarded. So as Jeff Amason Kingi, who accused Ruto of plans to slaughter all of us. In the Azimio manifesto, he meant those who attended at KICC. Days later, he crossed over to the same party. And what's to be awarded to his party. Ideally, then, they are beholden, is it? Because they already shared the country before they won power. Therefore, they cannot today have any pulse to address the president.
You know, if they had guts, if they had a sense of decency as individuals, they could rise above some of that what has happened before for them. But I do not assign them that kind of capacity. My concern is this. There's a problem in that arithmetics of distributing public resources that will not go away unless we address it properly. Ruto, Gachagua, Wetangula, and others sat down to say, you give me and my tribe a certain percentage of permanent principal secretary positions, cabinet positions, and things. A deal of ethnic coalition. Even before it unraveled, it was already causing concerns in this country. When will an El Molo be a cabinet secretary if the leaders of large tribes are going to sit down and share public positions as part of forming government? And unless we show outrage about that, we are heading in that direction again. Similarly, the outrage among people who did not come from the mountain and from Rift Valley at the start of the Ruto government has not gone away properly. The ethnicization of competition We are right now seeing an ugly face of nitwits from Rift Valley and some from Mount Kenya region getting into ethnic sparring. The rest of us are glossing over the cracks when competition is defined as my community and your community. This is not a panacea of Kenya's problems. I think public intellectuals, progressive media, and others should start calling this out. Even we from the opposition, our rallying point should not be ethnic. And we must make bold and public commitment
to that
public positions would not be subject of ethnic agreement and allocation. If Wetangula had been given 30% of government, I would still feel ashamed as a lawyer that we have denied others who are competent that did not get positions because of some memorandum of let's get to power and share the animal that we have slayed. Let this inform understanding where we are today and how to make sense to a country on the brink of a new generation taking leadership.
Absolutely.
And not too much soiled by the blinders of ethnic arithmetics.
Okay. And but Ahmed, it's also one thing, is it? Because part of the agreement also with the parties that includes Fort Kenya and the others was the persons to be appointed to constitutional offices, and which ideally ought not to be happening without the approval of Parliament, which is a guardrail in our democracy, is it? I mean, all this has been happening with them seeing how the gallery was operating, and this headed by the president and his former deputy, the president and his deputy now, and the president and the former prime minister now, in the arrangement that he dubbed mongrel when he spoke at Chatham House in the UK before the elections. But how was Parliament so blind to these realities when it was all unraveling before their glaring eyes?
I think they're absolutely enthralled by Mr. Ruto being in power, and they saw the gravy train. And greed has a way of making you blind. And when the money was flowing, everybody was quite happy. And then Mr. Ruto did what he has done repeatedly over his career. He turned the tables on Parliament. He turned the tables on ODM. He turned the tables on Mr. Uhuru. He turned the tables on his constituencies. He's turned the table every time. But there's a new social formation in the political economy of our country now. And this is called the Gen Zs. And this is the hope in the electoral battle and the moral battle that we have in this country about how we're going to move on from the kind of miasma that this country is in. And I put it to you, Mr. Ayub, that it is very important that we consolidate that vote, consolidate that feeling of change in this country. And I firmly believe that conservatism in this country, which has, ruled since independence, is now going to be thwarted by a group of young people who have come into this stage of this history, and they have seen that the country is not working, and that there's no future for them, and there's no employment for them. And the basic theories of economics and politics have come to the fore. I've argued about this a guy called Fernand Braudel, who speaks about something called the longue durée, about the rings of history meeting. And he has taught us that successive governments in Kenya have delayed the problem of restructuring the economy, the problem of integrating East Africa, the problem of dealing with international affairs as East Africans. And that ring now has met. And that ring tells us that the country is in the throes of transformation. Now, President Ruto and Mr. Raila have noticed, no, they understand this thing. They have seen it. And they know that the electoral equation in 2027 is very different. Yesterday in the parliament, you could see the most outcry was from the Luo MPs, from Luo Nyanzas. They were openly in rebellion against their party leader. And you cannot be a member of parliament in Luo Nyanza without the stamp of Mr. Odinga. This shows you that they know that the rebellion in the country is there. And The great Amilcar Cabral used to say the people don't want philosophy. They're looking for material things to, schools, roads, food. That's what the electorate wants. They don't want philosophy. They want to see a working nation. And what has happened is the Kenyan consciousness about their country working is now across the board. This tribal issue is still here in our country. It's there, no question about it. But it's being upped by a sociological change in the issues of food, issues of shelter, issues of roads, issues of education. And I think this consciousness is the next political economy of our country. And I believe that the National Assembly is at the heart of that transformation. I'm standing for that seat in Langata. The reason I'm doing that, Mr. Ayub, is not because it makes there's money in the National Assembly. It's that the National Assembly has been killed. It's been absolutely killed. Okay. And if it doesn't resurrect, we're in trouble.
Point taken. Senator Pogisho, in your view then, has the House given itself up for slaughter, giving the executive express check
carte blanche, carte blanche.
Let's talk about, for example, Haiti, and you come from West Pokot County, affected by insecurity, when clearly all the public support wasn't pointing that way because of the insecurity challenges we do face in North Rift part of the country. They gave him what they wanted on the finance bill. They gave him what they wanted, and the government largely in getting rid of Rigathi Gachagua. And the following day, the House was unable to raise a quorum. And yesterday, too, the session had to be adjourned to the afternoon. What does this say about the material thinking, the thinking of Parliament? Is it material? Is it for the national conscience? And how does this balance come about in our context?
But, at the risk of repetition, this is a captured parliament. This is a parliament that it's not even a ship being led to slaughter. This is a slaughtered parliament. They have absolutely no moral authority to even talk about, trying to get back at Mr. Ruto or President Ruto. And I think because of the camaraderie with Parliament, and for that has been built, the president, the executive, taking charge of Parliament literally. I mean, you've seen the biggest defenders of the government everywhere they go. It's actually from the legislature, not even from the executive. In fact, I think there is very little executive support for the president in terms of his programs. But it is the members who are in Parliament who are answering as though they were in the executive, not realizing that the institution of Parliament, constitutionally, is supposed to check on the executive. Constitutionally, they're supposed to legislate, represent, but also check what we call oversight. So, I mean, we need to find a way, and if these elections can come quickly, find a way that separates those things. And if there's that separation of power, it is one government with separate institutions and separate mandates. But now what has happened? We are holding, in fact, I was thinking that they held the meeting in State House. Now they moved it. Initially, it was announced that it was going to be held in State House.
They went to Karen.
But now they moved to Karen. But the whole idea that we have in this country is, as young people are coming up and they are showing us what they want, we then suppress them as though we don't want to see a problem. But that problem is not going to go away because the growth of children, in fact, last year, those who are now 15, 16, in the next election, they're voting.
They're voting.
So there are so many things that are going to happen in this country in spite of us trying to stop those things. We better begin to look at these young people and say, what are they saying? Listen to them. What are they saying? Let's not throw problems at them. Let's not arrest them. Let's not. Now I think they call them terrorists and so on.
Really.
So I hope there are two houses there. The two houses for the first. So I think we should even close one, and just be left with one house. I'm thinking we should actually have an ideal situation where we don't increase the numbers of parliament anymore. In fact, we are already too many. And because of the way we are doing things...
In the counties.
Of course, in the counties, we need to begin to deal with this situation. Now, who does that? If this government does not call for this kind of thing, if they don't support it, how are we going to make amends? I was in the leadership of the Senate. The Senate had been completely vanquished. The Constitution didn't give Senate very much power. And even now, the leader of majority in the Senate, you cannot compare with the leader of majority in the National Assembly. So the Senate was given a very narrow role to deal with just the counties. Okay. And now I hear Mr. Odinga saying he doesn't want they should not be summoning governors. He's saying they should be. So now, what is Senate? What's the role of the Senate? Yeah. What's the Senate going to do?
If I may just keep in this, one of the biggest challenges, one of the largest anxieties I have as a senior citizen of this country is I'm losing faith in the ability of the institutional arrangement we have today to solve the problems we have. When Raila was being rumored to be about to cross over and form government with Ruto, some of us who were working closely with him had a number of meetings with him. And one of the things I was saying to Raila, the conditions under which a genuine opposition can start forming kind of government with government is a limited, defined moment with an agenda. And that agenda cannot be about making government work. Is how can we deal with problems that cannot just be dealt with by the current arrangement? For example, even if you elected a saint to be your president, you cannot get away from the problem that Kenya has created a monster, a political bureaucracy that our tax base cannot sustain. The number of MPs, MCS, senators, governors.
It's too much.
Then that sheer size of the political bureaucracy in Kenya is too much for the Kenyan taxpayer. Even if you had very good, even if Kibaki came back today and made him president, he will struggle to just put together resources to sustain this level of government. So to me, apart from changes in 2027, Kenya's medium-term interest, as we come to the end of Agenda 2030 and start looking at a vision beyond 2030, must be how can we radically transform the architecture of governance and make politics affordable to the taxpayer.
Correct.
This is not on the radar of our conversation. And it's very unfortunate because we must get there. The economy has been carrying a burden of politics, which is becoming ever heavier and crumpling the legs of the economy. But it's the politicians who are the face of government. Secondly, now coming back to the issue of how the executive is rating with Parliament, there is something that Ruto has learned from Museveni. So what Museveni does, if you are loyal and vocal supporters of his movement and you are a member of Parliament, you are always loaded onto planes to go to presidential delegations abroad. So the reward, the pecking order is that you are given a lot of allowances as you travel around the world as a friend of the system. And one day get somebody to go to the UN General Assembly, the UNGA, the annual meeting of heads of state. Kenya brings to New York a delegation that is larger than Europe combined. The whole of Europe has fewer people going to the General Assembly of the UN than Kenya. We take five-star hotels, fill them. You go to MPs who are sitting in lobbies, drinking, getting drunk, and going to sleep. They are not having even get passes to go to the General Assembly. But they are enjoying because they are part of government. That system is taking medicine out of clinics. That system is taking money out of the financing of primary schools and universities. But we act as if we're in two different worlds. That we celebrate these largesse, and at the other side we complain that we want something else. So my waking anxiety is when will, as adult Kenyans, when will we start unveiling our thought process that we have experimented with this thing? It is not working. We must dramatically cut it down to size. Where will we find the surgeons and the scalpel for doing this?
I agree. And there's an old slogan that says, better the few, but better. And of course, this 48 counties is too much. Of course, the MCAs is too much. You know, Mr. Odinga said that the governors are only responsible to the MCAs. But the MCAs, are the helter-skelter people in their constituency, you know, and in the wards, and easily manipulated by the resources of the governor. And Mr. Odinga's hold on power is in the county system, where his political party, which I worked for, one of the founders of, we strategized this system of devolution, not only to give, correctly so, that bring government closer to the people, but it's a political tool for power, because once the governors are allied to a political party, then the captain or the leader of the party becomes awesomely powerful in the country. And that is why Mr. Ruto invited Mr. Odinga into government, because he needed, after Mr. Gachagua exited, he needed another social formation to come into government. So I completely agree, and I've argued about that the structural need to change our governance system from the winner takes all to a balance of proportional representation, to a balance of the National Assembly, the executive being in the National Assembly, I think is part of our traditions. We do not come from a separation of powers culture. We come from a colonial subject native system, and the people were deprived of power. And if you want to get honest men and women into the National Assembly, we also need reform in the political parties, because our political parties are now just become pastor vehicles, where, you know, you just make the list and you have people like the member of Kapkat, I always forget. I don't know how to pronounce that.
William Kamket.
No. You know, forget about William Kamket. There's this another one, the Sudi.
Yeah. Kapsaret.
Kapsaret, that's it, Kapsaret. I mean, that's the, you know, this is what comes out of these political parties. And once we have people like that, then the state capture, you know, we're talking about the parliament being captured. The state has been captured by these people. The republic has been captured by these people. And therefore, nothing is going to move in the progressive area that we want, and we're going to regress. And therefore, it's very important. Abe Lincoln said that, you know, any man can overcome any adversity. But if you want to know a man, give him power. And now we see Mr. Odinga, the country sees him. We see Mr. Ruto. When you gave Mr. Ruto power, he's become that naked person who's running down the street. He's lied to this country. He's lied to his constituency. He's lied about the bottom up. He's lied about every conceivable issue in this country. And we cannot wait for 2027 so that we can go and express our franchise, so that we can overturn the government and try and bring someone who can make this country a working nation.
Pick up from there.
Senator.
A working nation.
Yep.
That is the illusion we have, the working nation. I mean, who works in this country? So you tell me who works in this country. So when the president is not in his office, is he in his office? He's all over the place, right? And he's riding on motor cars. And then
Rooftop.
the guy who should be acting in the office, his deputy, is everywhere distributing money. And everybody else is busy running around distributing. So who's working in this country? All the appointees, look at Duale.
Yeah, very.
I mean, Duale is supposed to be dealing with health, but he's all over making statements. Yep. Murkomen with his interior, all over the place. Everybody wants to go and talk to people. Why? There is a matter of trust lost. Trust deficit, and I speak about this a lot. Trust can, you can say all you want, but unless you begin to build and rebuild trust, get back the trust, it doesn't matter what you say to the people. Once trust is out the window, you will be on car rooftops everywhere talking, and it's not going to change much. Yep. And so I do want to see some people work in this country. I want to understand, how does money come out of treasury to the hands of people to throw it away if they're not working? If I want to meet the deputy president today, where do I find him?
You go to the women empowerment, right?
I want to see the Speaker of the National. Where do I find him? I mean, this is a question we should be asking ourselves. So who is working in this country? Carmen, he says we need to be working. Work. If you don't work, how do the juniors work?
Yeah.
They're watching you. So the juniors are following you to these empowering things. They're all over with you, and nobody's working in this country. So how do we get back our economy?
Yes. Before your question, let me just say something that has been bothering me. A great historian, Eric Hobsbawm, was a professor of history at the University of Chicago. said, after looking at the collapse of democracy in Europe in the period leading up to the Second World War, after the Great Depression, that democracy is founded on hope. Democracy is nurtured by the promise that next year will be better than this year, that things will always get better. If the people stop believing that tomorrow will be better than yesterday, the very foundation of the contract for democracy is under major threat. We're living in a country where for majority of the population, parents are richer than their children are ever going to be. You are going through 2-3 generations where the levels of disposable wealth is declining within the family. And the promise of prosperity disappears, even as a delusion, even as people cheat. We are talking about waiting for constitutional change in 2027. But if a large section of the population loses faith in the infrastructure of government, in the process that we are using to rule, the delusion of 2027 disappears. Uncertainty comes. We are a country which has been privileged to have never had major turbulence for the period since independence. But we have been taking it for granted, partly because custodians of the state knew how slippery it was and they sometimes held back. Today, the recklessness that is informing public behavior, the continued decline of livelihoods and hope among the hopeless, renders us vulnerable to opportunistic forces disrupting our order.
Thank you. Let's sample the feedback, gentlemen, here, and we close the show. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abrika. Leonard Masika says, fighting corruption in this country should have been the first priority from day one. We have seen the past scandals running into billions during this Kenya Kwanza government, yet nothing much has been done, not even a statement from the executive. How then should we expect action now with lawmakers involved? Silva says the owner of the dog is now barking after the bait has been swallowed. Ruto's crying foul over MPs and bribery, yet he is the same one who feeds them. Hypocrisy at its finest. Bob Otieno says President's admission that Parliament is a den of extortion proves the famous Swahili saying, nguruwe ujikaranga kwa mafuta yake. He has indeed fried himself. Lekishon Laban says MPs are now testing betrayal. The President Ruto accuses them of bribery, yet he is alleged to have bribed them to push the bills like the finance bill. Many have already lost public trust and become irrelevant back home, used and dumped. Time to show loyalty to voters, not the executive. Frank Orinde says the formation of yet another multi-agency team to fight corruption is nothing but recycled rhetoric. The institutions named already have a constitutional mandate to confront graft. Their failure is not from lack of teams, but lack of will and integrity. KD Lethal says the president cannot claim to be fighting corruption when almost all permanent secretaries' appointments suggest otherwise. Meanwhile, MPs have turned Parliament into a circus. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. Senator Ogizio, many thanks appreciated. Former Kacheliba MP, former senator, and equally. Since 1988 in Parliament.
Yeah, first time to
98.
A crocodile, ageless.
Ahmed, thank you for your time.
I'm privileged to have my seniors with me here today. I learned a lot. Congratulations and well done.
Thank you for your time. In Parliament between 1992 and 2012, served as a cabinet minister and also the Under-Secretary General of the United UNCTAD, based in Geneva in Switzerland. Many thanks for your time. Much appreciated. Looking forward to another engagement next week by the grace of God.
Thank you.
Thanks to you too. Lillian is up next with Health and Lifestyle, and we'll see you tonight on JKL from the Kenya School of Government. Till then, good morning.